Welcome back to the podcast. Becca and I've had a lot of conversations lately about cash flow, budgeting, what to track, how to budget versus bookkeep. Like there's been so many good conversations around money coming and going from your business, from your family, and what to do with it all. And so I know you were asked some really great questions. You got some really great market research recently about the topic of cash flow specifically. So why don't you tell us what that looked like? And then let's have I love talking about all things budgeting now. So fill us in.
Yeah, so this past week I got a question, and I get this question frequently from female business owners. But this woman in particular asked me, okay, I need to know what cash flow means. Like, I need to understand what it means because I feel really dumb even asking that question. I feel like I should know what that means and I should know what it means for my business. And the fact that I'm asking you that makes me like a little sick to my stomach. So she had a lot of embarrassment and almost shame and guilt coming to me asking a question that she didn't know the answer to. And so first, let me just go in. I'm going to go into a little tangent. Asking a question, especially about financial terminology or about business, money, budgeting, all of those things, asking the questions that you don't know the answers to should not be embarrassing to you. We don't learn these things in school. We are not taught these from a young age. So if you have a question, ask it so you can understand the actual term, what it means, and how it applies to your business, how you can use it to make more money, keep more money, scale your business, go on vacation and have a business running in the background. All of those things matter. Understanding financial terminology is crucial when you are running a business. So if you don't understand something, ask. If you don't have someone to ask me because they're my favorite questions to answer for you.
Because Miss Becca, the ex-teacher, says there
are no stupid questions.
And it's true, but funny.
Sort of. It's sort of true. But these are not stupid questions. Any question related to money, business tracking, they are not dumb questions. These are things that I had to learn for myself when I started a business because they are not talked about. They are not defined for you. And if they are defined, they're defined very bro-y.
Yeah. Or like you'll figure it out later, like just get your business off the ground. And when you have more money, then we get into that mentality. When I have more, then I'll figure that out.
That's exactly right. And that's not how we operate. We know better, right? Not just Marley and myself, but if you are listening to this podcast, you know better. You know that that is not the strategy. When I make more, then I will work on my money. Then I will figure out what all this means. I want to give you a visual today for what cash flow is because I researched a really simple definition for you. And I think it is excellent. And then I want to follow it up with a visual for you. So the definition that I found was cash flow statements paint a picture as to how your business operations are running, where you're getting your money, and how your money is being spent. So it is a snapshot, but it's almost a video. It is not a picture. It's like a video of all of the money coming in and all of the money leaving your account at any given point, right? So your cash flow can look different hour to hour, day to day. I mean, month to month, your cash flow looks different. So let me go explain a visual for you so you can understand what this looks like for your business. I want you to picture a river. I've never thought about this before, this visual. How do rivers receive their water? Like, how do they always have water flowing? There is rain, right? Rain is deposited into the river. There's runoff from the ground. So that's the water that drips back into the river when it rains. And there are other water sources that merge into rivers. So it has different ways of getting water and keeping water in the river flowing. A river loses water in many different ways also. Evaporation is one. The plants use the water in the ground. The roots find the water and use it. And then the ground itself just soaks up water. So there are many different ways that the river receives water. There are many different ways that the river loses water. A river can only survive when it receives more water than it loses, right? It can only have water if it gets more than it uses or loses. So then I want you to think about the banks of the river. What is the purpose of riverbanks? Is to ensure that the water stays in the river. It's to ensure that the bulk of the water stays in the river so it keeps flowing. Your business works exactly like this river. You have different streams of income depositing money into your business account. So this can be the products, the services that you are paid for in your business. You can have a ton of different streams of income. Money leaves your account in lots of different ways also. So these are business expenses. It can look like processing fees, coaching, education, an email system, a CRM. There are so many things that you can spend your business money, your business revenue on, right? So there are lots of different ways that you receive money as a business owner. There are lots of ways that you spend money as a business owner. Your budget acts as just like the riverbanks do. Your budget keeps you informed about where your money is going, how much is being spent. The difference between a river and you as a business owner is you get to set the boundaries. A river flows where the boundaries already are, right? As a business owner, you get to set the boundaries of your budget, and you get to tell it what you are willing to spend, how much money you are willing to spend out of the account, how much money you want to keep in your account, aka the profit that you get from your business. Does that make sense?
So much sense. It's got my brain whirling. I'm such a nerd. Tell me, what is the difference between, okay, so we talked about the banks of the river are your budget. So they're where the water is banging up against, and then it stays in the lines. It's like a bowling alley when you've got the guardrails up for your little ones, or for yourself if you're not very good at bowling. So what are some examples of what a boundary could look like in your budget, what the riverbank could look like specifically?
That's a really good question. So one that I talked with a client about the other day was how much money she was willing to spend on coaching for her business. There were so many things that she wanted to do. There were so many different lanes that she wanted to be in. And we discussed what was the major gap in her business right now. And is that where the coaching needed to be? Like, is that the coaching she needed to focus on? And then we got even deeper. What is your profit margin right now? Like, how much profit do you have every month? The only way she knew that is by tracking her numbers, by having a business budget. She wouldn't have been able to tell me how much profit she had month to month. And if she invested in this coach, how much money would that leave her? How much profit would that leave her at the end of the month? Did she feel comfortable with that? So we were able to decide she wanted to spend $1,000 or less a month on this coaching so that she had enough profit to pay herself what she needed to provide for her family. So we worked backwards, but the only way she knew what she needed to pay for her family was she has a personal budget also, because I've talked about this a million times, you cannot have messy business finances and clean personal. You cannot have messy personal and clean business finances and expect for those to give you a picture of where you want to be and how close you are. So budgeting is literally setting a number. I do not want to spend over this amount. And when I get to this threshold, I'm going to pause until next month. I'm going to take a break.
Okay. That is so good. So because you and I have talked about this so much lately, I'm managing multiple businesses and the books for multiple businesses. So knowing exactly what I have in the bank account, not necessarily. So maybe you should explain the difference between revenue and profit next, because I've had to really dig into, okay, what do I actually have to pay myself? It's not the same as revenue, which is all the money coming in, not the same as my even just knowing the difference between my revenue and my expenses. But then it's like, well, do I need to save for taxes? Do I need to put some aside for X, Y, or Z? So it's how do you get to that decision of what is your profit? How much do you want to take out to pay yourself? And you can't just guess that. You can't just ballpark it. It's so stressful when you don't have those numbers in front of you. And I know for myself, when you mentioned like you can't have clean finances in general unless you really have both business and personal buttoned up, or at least are working toward that. I had to start with business because it felt easier. It was cleaner. There was a lot less coming and going at the beginning. So it gave me a starting place to practice filling out spreadsheets, to practice tracking, to practice getting all my numbers together, analyzing the data, making decisions. And then when I moved to personal, which is messy because there's so much, I have a family of 6. So it's like, that alone is a lot to manage. So it made that feel, I was really stressed to get started. But then once I did, I was like, oh, I already know how to do this. I've got this. I've ridden this bike before. So that was, that muscle was being built. So my personal and my business tracking felt really easy, but it took starting with one.
Yeah. Well, and it can be different for different people. So in Mind Her Business, we do start with business because typically it is less messy. It is easier. It's more fun because we like to play in our business, right? We do not like to play in our personal. There are some who have to start with personal because they cannot think clearly until their personal is cleaned up. And that's okay. I was one of those people. I had to start with my personal because I didn't really even know what business finances looked like at that point. I was still kind of navigating that on my own. But it doesn't matter where you start. Starting with one of them will inherently make the other one easier and more fun and faster for you to get under your belt.
Okay, I have 2 questions. Let's start with, can you just define, so we've defined cash flow, money coming, money going, right? Can you define what's the difference between revenue and profit?
Yes. So the revenue is the money that comes into your business. So Marley, if you paid me today to coach you for 3 months, the money that you give me in exchange for that coaching is my revenue. So it's the money that I have in my hand right now. Nothing has been touched. I have not paid any expenses out of that money. I have not paid any processing fees. It is the $5,000. That's just a random number I'm picking. The $5,000 that you said you were going to give me, you gave it to me. That is my revenue. It's a whole $5,000.
Okay, so let's go one step deeper before you jump to profit, because we want to educate our audience and make sure that they feel really confident in terminology. So the numbers, or the other terms for profit and revenue, are also gross and net, right?
Yes.
So what did you gross, people say profit, but what did you gross make, which is the total amount that came in. And then your net, correct, is what you actually caught. You caught it in the net. You got to keep it. That's your profit, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Gross is the total of all the things coming in, which is your revenue, what people actually paid you. Your net is what you caught and what you got to actually keep for yourself to pay yourself. Correct?
That's exactly right. Yes. If we're going deeper into profit, I've heard this a lot, especially recently on social media. I reinvested all of my profit in my business for the last 6 months. Then you didn't have profit because you spent it all. Again, if you didn't pay yourself anything, or if you did not leave that money in your business account, you didn't have a profit.
Right. You invested for sure. You reinvested revenue.
1,000% you invested. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm
Right.
not saying that you should not be doing that. I just want you to wrap your brain around what profit actually is. You may have had a profit and you took what would have been your profit and reinvested it in your business, making it no longer profit. Now
You had a positive cash flow that you used to reinvest, therefore taking less profit for yourself.
That's exactly right. And that's a good point. Cash flow does not always equal positive. So a positive cash flow means you make more money than you spend. A negative cash flow means you spend more money than you make.
Simple.
So
Love
cash
it.
flow can work either way. Cash flow, the word means the same thing. It is all the comings and goings in your account. It is the flow of the river. It's how much money you make, how much money is leaving your account, and it can be a positive or negative number on different days, depending on how much you're spending and how much you're making.
Okay, so we broke down cash flow. We broke down revenue or gross cash flow, profit. I know they call it gross profit, but then that's almost like a little bit confusing if you're not clear. So, okay, we'll call it that. And then we've talked about profit is actually net, what you're keeping after expenses, right? So that's the difference. You've got money coming in, which is your revenue. You've got money going out, which is your expenses. The difference is your net, what you caught, which you can then pay yourself with. That is profit.
Yes.
So I know we've got a lot of clients who have a very cash positive business. So they're making a lot of money. So budgeting can maybe feel less important or like less of a priority to them because they're not stressed about money. They always have enough in the account. They always have enough to pay themselves. So what I want to ask you is, what about those clients who aren't worried about having enough? So maybe don't see budgeting as very or as important. What would you tell them? Does tracking matter to them and why?
It absolutely matters because the more money that you have left at the end of the month, the faster you can get to your financial goals. And so if you're not tracking, then you are not as aware of your habits, your spending habits, your reinvesting habits. Maybe you're not aware of how quickly and how much money you can spend on any given day, which means you're not getting to your financial goals as quickly as you want to because money feels easy. And what we know as business owners is when something feels easy, we take our foot off the gas. It's taking care of itself. I don't have to look at that. It feels easy. If you do not keep your finger on the pulse of your money, which is your budget, then it can easily get away from you. You can easily get further and further and further away from your financial goals. I have a client right now who has said that she's in Mind Her Business, and she said that they've never tracked their money. They've never needed a budget, she and her husband, because they've never had a lack of money. And she does recognize that that's a privilege, right? But because they've never had a lack of money, they are not intentional prior to Mind Her Business. They were not intentional about how they spent that money. And they have had these financial goals for a long time, and they have made no progress towards those goals because it didn't feel like they needed to look at it. It didn't feel like they needed to keep their finger on the pulse because money just kept coming in. But then that money also kept leaving the account as quickly as it entered the account. And that is where we got to kind of put a Band-Aid on the bleed, right? You're bleeding money, but is it where you want it to go? Is it getting you closer to your financial goals? In her case, the answer was absolutely not. And also, I have nothing to show for this money that we've spent. I don't have the house that we want. I don't have the vacation property that we want. I don't have the money and savings that we want. And yet money still keeps coming. We just don't know where it's going. So a budget is not a restriction. I am going to say this until every person on the face of the earth believes it. A budget is not a restriction. It gives you the freedom to spend your money the way that you want to. It releases your brain from all the pressure of, what do I do with this dollar? What do I do with this $10? What do I do with this 10,000? You've already decided. Your brain can relax and you can keep making more money and keeping more money because you already know what you're going to do with it. That's the point of the budget.
Yeah, and we've got we've had conversations with many women making multiple six figures who say they don't feel like they're making any profit because they don't know where the money's going. It's just coming and going. Yeah. Because it's like the old tale of make more money, spend more money. You buy a better car, you upgrade, you upgrade your home, you buy nicer clothes, you eat out more, and it just keeps going. Yeah. Going because it feels easy. It feels easy.
It's the lifestyle creep. I don't know. That's not the exact term for it.
But I love that term.
it's like as your money creeps up, your lifestyle creeps up with it, right?
Yes.
So you adjust your lifestyle according to what you're making or what you're able to bring home with your money. And then you look up one day and you realize, I live this really nice life and I have to sell every single day to keep up with it because I don't know how much money I get to keep from all of this. It is so stressful and it keeps you chasing your tail all the time. And I don't want to run a business where I'm chasing my tail. I don't want to run a business where I'm desperate and chasing sales because that doesn't feel fun. And then my attention isn't on my kids when business hours are over. My attention isn't on how much fun we're having at the zoo. It's on, oh my gosh, I have to check my DMs. I wonder if that girl messaged me back. And I wonder if she's going to say yes. What if she says no? Then what? Your brain can do some really fantastic things to you when you are not prepared, when you don't know what's going on in your account.
I really like that the idea that your budget is it's a lifestyle check.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just tracking your money and what's coming and going. It's also tracking what kind of a lifestyle are you living? And are you living, a really nice lifestyle? But does that align then with your savings goals, with your, wanting to put away to take your family on nice vacations? Because I know you and I have shared before, my husband and I had to really check ourselves when we realized how much we were eating out, how much we were spending, because we were just so busy with our kids and travel and sports and on the go that eating out is really convenient. And we were fine. And then when we saw just how much we were spending every month eating out, it was like, whoa, I had no idea that it got so bad. And our lifestyle just crept up on us without realizing. And that's money that could have been going to a trip, could have been going to our future, could have been going to whatever else we want to do. So that did not align with the goals that we had. We like eating out, but not to the extent that we were. That didn't feel good once we got our eyes on it. So that if I had been budgeting at that time, it would have given me a much better picture, a more clear picture of the lifestyle we were living. And did that align with the goals that we had?
Well, and here's the other way to kind of filter that. Let's say you love to go out to eat, and that is the one thing that you really like to do with your family. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I would love to offer you is the mindset that if going out to eat every week is taking away from a goal that you have that you feel so far away from, it might be time to reevaluate where that money is being spent. It might be time to reevaluate how often you're going out to eat or the type of restaurant you're going out to eat. I mean, I'm not saying go eat fast food. That's not, hear me. I'm not saying that. But it's just knowing exactly where you want to spend your money is such a good filter to the days where things feel hard. You're out of energy, you're out of brain power. Is it worth it tonight to go out to eat? Or do we have leftovers at home? Like, I don't know. That's your choice to make. But if that $50 that you're spending going out to eat tonight because you're just exhausted is taking away from that vacation that you want in 3 months, you have to decide if it's worth it.
Yeah, let me say that just on that rabbit hole of eating out, it's almost like an addiction. Not the food itself. I'm not saying that, but like we had to really
the convenience
and like on a night when we both had a really long day, we're tired, we've got something to be at tonight, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Everyone gets me. If you've got kids, you know what I'm talking about. You have one of those nights where you're like, let's just grab food, let's just get something on the way home, let's just zip to the to A&W, to McDonald's, whatever. Do you guys have A&W in the States?
I don't know.
Okay. Chick-fil-A.
A&W is like root beer, right? A&W
Yeah.
root beer. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I know the brand.
Okay, I won't say, or Tim Hortons. Okay, so it was so easy that we would find ourselves a couple nights a week when we were like, hey, we need to really rein it in, this is not aligning, going, should we just do it? Does it matter tonight? And I had to be the one to really put my foot down a couple nights and be like, no, we're not. Make grilled cheese, put a can of soup on, like Tonight we're not. If we're that tired, everyone can have cereal. It's okay. But we are not, we need to break this addiction of convenience, because it was really easy to just want to go, yeah, let's just do it. Which was not aligning with our budget and where we wanted our money to go. So that budget though is what made me take it so seriously to make the change. And the change isn't always easy. And it took some like serious work on our habits. It was about a habit. That's the word. It was an addiction to this habit. We had not an addiction. It was just genuinely a habit that we had gotten accustomed to. When we feel this way, we do this thing. And that was our pattern. And we've broken it. Like, we really don't eat out anymore. We love eating out, but now it genuinely is a treat. It feels good. And we've been, it just changed so much in our lives that I would not have been able to do without having the budget for me to take it so seriously.
The budget gave you the information you needed to make a decision. And that's
Right.
all a budget is, information to make a decision. If you don't have the information, you don't always feel good about the decisions you've made because you don't know if it was a truly sound decision. A budget is information for your brain. It's evidence for your brain that it needs to make decisions that make you feel calm, that make you feel peaceful, that make you feel excited about your business and excited about your money.
So what is, to wrap up today's episode, what do you want our audience to do? What is one thing that they could do if they're not currently feeling in control? They don't currently have maybe a solid budget. Like, what's one really simple step they could take to get clear on the cash flow of their business so that they can start looking at profit and revenue and paying themselves? And does it align with their goals? What is your advice?
I mean, I would love for you to create a budget for yourself, but if that feels too hard, open your account and look at what's being spent. Just open it and face it. I have several clients who get actual anxiety when they're about to open their bank account. And that anxiety only goes away with the habit of opening your account and looking at what's happening in your account. And so what they've told me is, by opening their account and not going worst case scenario, when I open it, it's going to look like I have negative $20,000. I'm not going to have any money to pay myself. That's not usually the case when they open their account. So don't let your brain catastrophize what might be happening, and just look and see what is happening, because you could make changes today without a budget. You could look at your account and be like, holy cow, like, I didn't even know I had this subscription and I don't need it. I don't even really know what it is. And you could cancel a subscription and you're that much closer to a positive cash flow.
Yeah. We just did that last week. We found a few more subscriptions that just were not being used even.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone has homework, their goal, because we can't make changes until we have the information and until we're willing to get honest with ourselves, whether it's good or great or bad. We cannot move forward and work towards our goals financially until we're really honest and clear about what's happening in front of us. So the homework for our audience today is just open up your accounts, open up your banking, look at your main debit account, look at your credit cards, and see where is your money coming from and where is it going? And then just use that as data to do some analysis on, is this aligning with the lifestyle that I want, the goals that I have for my financial situation, and the future that I want to build for my family?